I think every artistic impression have to reach a balance, and the balance within black metal should be where music, lyrics, art, picture can create an entity, and balanced entity. The inspiration to my lyrical expression comes from within, of course. It comes from realms which our thoughts cannot relate to. It comes from the abyss.
Black metal is a term that is pretty debated. A lot of people have different opinions about what is true black metal and what is it not.
But what the fuck is black metal? It's just a stupid title, you know. For me, it's based around an art of philosophical aspects.
Black metal, I think, is very much something that is real for the ones who make it. I don't think people are making black metal just as theater. I think it's if you choose to make black metal your music, there is a lot of connections to your inner self and to your identity and who you want to be. The bands I have spoken to has talked about this, that it's a way of expressing who I really am, and it's a way of expressing my inner thoughts. So I think it's very real.
Because most people in black metal is like imitating someone else, the corpse paint, everything. It's nice to give it your own individual touch.
That black metal is something that relates to something more than just to play music because it's fun. It's a very serious thing, and it's a very serious thing that you do with your heart and with your body and your soul, and it's something that involves a lot of work, a lot of feeling, and it's something that is of course a very big part of yourself that you want to show and explain for other people.
There's a lot of shit that gets considered black metal or gets considered art, which has no validity to me.
For me, black metal has always been and will always be an artistic way to express the longing for darkness, the unknown in the darkness, a longing to release oneself for the triviality of today's society, of today's materialistic world.
I would also say that black metal is about something that is holistic. Is a concept. It's not. You're not standing on a stage and playing black metal music and dressed like a clown, because you have to express it. It's not only for your ears. It's something for your eyes and something that you experience. So it's a genre of music that people that creates it takes very seriously. As you listen to black metal, you get a very intense feeling. The brutality is pretty explicit, and you can feel it in the atmosphere, that this kind of music is pretty much the limit of brutality so far.
If I explain for a total outsider of the black metal scene what I actually do, I say I play extreme music and I express myself in ways that is probably not as common. But again, if you go to a fancy art show in Paris, you will see a lot of weird art within a certain subculture, which nobody actually can explain if they're not there doing it themselves.
And I think the most important thing about black metal is that it is for real, that it really means something deep for those who are making it. But on the other hand, when they are on stage, of course there's a lot of theater in it, and you have to make this image on stage to attract the audience.
And my personal opinion on what black metal is about, it also follows a lifestyle. And for me personally, that means that I live out in the forest in this house from the 18th century, and I live here close to the nature.
So I think black metal, because it's kind of music that attracts a lot of people, and you don't have to be a Satanist or a pagan to love black metal, because it's a great music, and a lot of people likes it, and it's very good to, if you are a bit romantic and somehow spiritual or religious, it's nice music to put your thoughts into lyrics and to make these musical pictures of nature and spirituality and all this. So I think that's why so many is attracted to black metal. It's exciting. It sounds sounds exciting and it's mystical and it's beautiful and brutal at the same time. So
I think you can play black metal with acoustic guitars and without the grim vocal. Black metal is the meaning behind it, and so many bands try to hide themselves behind this mask of being really aggressive and shit. I don't care about that. Black metal is the philosophy about it, so yes, I think everybody can play black metal. But giving it the aggression, I think it's very typical Scandinavian, in particular Norway and Sweden.
And black metal collect the dark flames. Black metal, the essence of black metal collect everything that tries to reflect the conception of the shadow world, darkness, evil.
If you talk about the first wave of so-called black metal, I have to say, I mean bands like Venom and Celtic Frost, musically I would say they were not really there.
it has evolved most of all from this really primitive, brutal and quite ugly music that was the early black metal. It was almost more some kind of punk metal, the early black metal.
Band of Bathory, Emperor, Burzum has always, I think they have influenced me more than others.
For me, I tend more to describe bands like Darkthrone and of course Mayhem as the first that really invented the style, the musical style of black metal.
Of course, the genre of black metal, you know, comes from the first aggressive black metal, comes from Norway.
As it's influenced by Black Sabbath, it's influenced by the old European thrash culture, black metal culture, Venom, Celtic Frost.
It's hard to say. I mean, I think it goes further back with the first distorted guitar and so on. To be honest, I don't really answer to those questions in respect of guys being older in the scene.
But of course, if you want to go back to bands like Venom and Celtic Frost, and also there is some other back there, you can see a clear development or influence from their early thrash metal and old school death metal bands in the US.
Early American thrash and death metal, absolutely.
For my own sake, yeah, I think somewhat, of course, it would have been inspiring and coming from the States, UK, whatever.
These early bands, I think it was the heavy metal underground grew very big, and all these bands, the thrash metal bands and death metal bands, were very popular, and all these kids who started the black metal scene in Norway and in Sweden, they were influenced by this thrash and death metal bands. Then they thought it became too popular. There were so many, as they said, posers who came to the concerts, and they wanted it to be more dark and evil.
So I can't say that the thing that the early Norwegian bands created was strongly influenced by the American thrash metal, but of course, in a way, they're still on the same tree as development.
And all of these guys who started the black metal trend we're all fans of these old bands, like more satanic bands like Venom and Hellhammer and Bathory.
I close your eyes and send you into many dreams. I wreck a soul and I dig off painful screens. I watch you cry, you still so underneath. Nothing can save me from hell eternity. I never speak to soul and lacerate your mind. It's nothing, I'm so afraid to burn on the reaper.
So they wanted to take the metal underground back to these dark and satanic images of these bands, instead of the more social, as they said, the social lyrics of death metal and thrash metal.
I'm personally I'm a very big fan of the second wave, that style of black metal, the brutality.
To me, black metal, at least the contemporary black metal, is a very romantic music with some relation and inspiration from classical music like Richard Wagner and Gustav Mahler and this kind of composers.
Black metal has developed a lot during the years, and if you look to black metal now only as a musical genre, I have to say that somewhere it came to a point where it suddenly turned out to be something else musically than black metal.
But if you look at it as some kind of skill, musical skill, then it has become a more. There are better musicians now and better producers and better arrangements, and so it has become somehow more advanced musically.
I think that you can never resist the changing. You can never resist the evolution of black metal, even if you don't like it or not.
I mean, there is bands like Cradle of Filth or some albums with the Dimmy Borgir or other bands like that. I'm skeptical with calling that black metal, because it's so much about keyboards, and it's you don't get this feeling of brutality and the grimness, so to speak, in the music.
I would love to say that black metal always should be something obscure, something concealed in the underground.
But then, as the third wave came, it was more and more started to be the music started to be more and more interesting. But still, even if that is true, and I mean, people nowadays are talking about black metal, and they refer to a specific genre of metal music.
I don't care if there is 100,000 of bands who want to make a black metal to any commercial circus to get money off.
I mean, when in the border between the second and the third wave of black metal, when some bands, of course not all bands, but some bands wanted to be more commercial, and they wanted to take the music to be more accepted by other people, then you tend a little bit to miss the purpose of black metal.
It is impossible to resist the commercial evolution of black metal, but as long as you focus on what it represents for you, as long as you focus on your own path, on your own artistic expression, as long as you focus on what you want black metal to be, the fire won't die.
basically open for someone else's point of view. Of course, it's something that's meant to basically stimulate another's mind, and it's something that should be scried into, kind of like the lyrics and the music is very abstract for a certain reason. It's basically to cause an individual to see faces within the music, to have somebody discover things that their minds actually do.
People in magazines trying to define it, and you know, it's easier to communicate music to somebody with words, just describing it. But you know, it's music. You have to interpret it with the sound. You have to hear it, hear how it sounds. So, you know, black metal, death metal, whatever.
It's basically if anything, it's terror metal. I mean, it's basically discussing not necessarily the euphoric blackness or the darkness that is somewhat pleasurable. It's more so the kind of terror that we would never wish to meet. Of course, there are people who are misled by the negative misconceptions that follow Isaac Nachman, of course, and that's just something that's detrimental, because if someone goes there with an instantaneous abhorrence for us, they're not going to be able to receive us that well. Of course, the internet isn't a very good place because it basically masks who we truly are, and I just suggest they come see us live. But basically, a lot of people have been doing the same thing to Isaac Nachman. The rest of the world has been doing black metal, and that's not giving it a chance and basically refusing to listen to it. So all things change, of course.
Death of Desire is a great example of what black metal has evolved to, because we have really taken that sound and transformed it into something our own.
And that's not what black metal was in the start. Black metal in the start was something really powerful and shocking, or it's something that's already dull, trendy, and fucking everyone is used to that shit,
I think that black metal in itself hasn't changed. The feeling behind it, the reasons why we do it, haven't changed. The sound is the main thing that has changed.
When we lived in Europe for a while, black metal there wasn't such a big deal anymore. It was something that was part of metalheads there, just normal stuff.
American people can't really handle that type of music. So although I know it's out there and I hear about it, it hasn't gained in popularity.
American black metal, no one really listens to black metal here that much as in Europe. So when you meet American black metal bands, they are really fucking underground and they are really fucking evil.
And the very time are inside. With golden honest flowers that racing in the sky. That's the time the horse out of the ride. That's the time the horse out of the ride. These horses, they're running to place and show.
American black metal is fucking brutal. I love it. Depending on the band, that is. There's some bands I can't stand. Bands like Streetway Beat need to be on fucking national tours.
they're singing Kiss or something, you know. There's a lot of people, you know, in this area that really don't know what's going on, don't understand or know black metal or anything. We do have that a lot. We don't play out too often. We try to be fairly selective about what shows we'll do, you know.
American black metal, I support it. Most of the bands I'm actually an avid fan of. I like art fusion and progression instead of, you know, just doing the same old tired thing over and over.
But, you know, basically as far as the whole corpse paint, thrash, Norwegian influenced metal stuff, I know there's more, but I only off the top of my head could list the one, Strigoi V.
It's growing. There's more bands coming out. There's better bands coming out, and with that, there's absolute garbage been coming out.
You know, there's, as far as the scene, there's, for that genre, there's not one at all.
Generally, we've had a pretty low opinion about black metal in America. Not very many bands have been so interesting to us in as far as the American black metal scene goes. Not to say that there's nothing here of value. There's a few, but overall, ever since our youth, we've always kind of looked to Europe for our black metal inspirations.
But I don't know. The best black metal is definitely European overseas.
There's a lot of good bands coming up nowadays, though, around. If I could just remember some of their names.
There's probably a bunch of killer American black metal bands, but I don't follow that scene that close. I know Cult of Azazel are badass.
American black metal. Is there a such thing as American black metal?
You know, I can't really pick out like a whole lot of black metal bands that I really follow from the States. You know, I mean, I like Cult of Azazel a lot, but we're friends with those guys.
There's a bunch of bands that I listen to and a bunch that I probably haven't even heard. You know what I mean? Like for me right now, the best thing is, and it's not American, it's Watine.
But like I said, I've never really been influenced by, definitely not by American black metal. Like I said, I know there was such thing.
I think the American black metal scene is hopefully not taking too many influences from the Norwegian scene. I don't think in America the type of extremism of acts and violence are quite the same as they are in Norway. The cultural differences are very different between here and there, and I really think that the musical style and some of the influences of the localities from which the music comes are very important.
I don't know. I think you have to grow up with it and kind of have it more in your blood. And I think the reason it became so big coming from Norway is it's dark here, it's cold here, and I mean, we got the highest suicide rates almost in the world.
The black metal scene, they've had a lot of those very cultural influences from Norway, Sweden, other areas, and those are really entering the music. That's not unlike what you'd hear in, say, Sepultura with the South American influences and Brazilian music that they've included. What happened in LA, San Francisco, even if it was the glam metal stuff, it was specific to a certain location and a certain influence of the times that really contributed to what happened with the music. So I think we as Americans are really, to some extent, catching up to a lot of the evolution that's happened around the rest of the world.
I know that in Norway, where it all started, the church is very strong. It's a heavy influence of Christianity, both this state church and different evangelical free churches and so on. So they have a great impact in Norway. But exactly why they actually started to burn down churches is I don't know really.
The reason we burned down churches in Sweden was that we were raised and born in a land which, according to our deeds, were Christian. Christian in the values, Christian in the foundation of the society.
Over the years, yes, there's been focus on the church burnings, the murders, whatever, but that's way back. Nothing today represents that. It's stupid.
It's also as a symbol to go against the Norwegian society, to burn down one of these national treasures is a really heavy statement to do. And if you have a claim to be Satan, it's the perfect target for you to attack, because it's symbols for the early Christianity in Norway.
And even the guys from the particular bands you're referring to sits today and says that's fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. It has nothing to do with it.
I grew up in a place outside of Jönköping, and Jönköping is known for being very colored by Christian tradition. And there was very early, what can you say, great contrast with our interest and society, school, everything.
And I think the main problem is with a lot of black metal bands. They've done it like I have. From a young age, they played black metal and they got really into it at a certain point. Started tattooing pentagrams and shit everywhere. And at one point they grow up in a way.
I know about bands that were very explicit satanic back for say 10, 12 years ago. And now they have been, you know, they say in later interviews that they have developed, and they were looking and saying things that they did in the early days as something that they can't stand for today.
They look at things in the wrong way. Because if you play black metal and you devote your life to black metal, it doesn't mean you have to sit in the fucking basement in the chest drinking blood all day, you know?
I know that a lot of the early bands were about to spread hatred and to spread evil and stuff like that. But again, when you read their comments today, some of those bands, they not stand for what is said back in the early days.
Not to put anyone's beliefs down, but I think the whole scene kind of grew up. I think people kind of gotten over their childish views on basement Satanism and magic.
But if you want to hide it behind corpse paint and hide it behind some stupid fucking lyrics about Satan, then you're already way off.
I would say in the early US black metal, an overt, almost childish sense of Satanism was almost expected, almost necessary.
I think the whole concept of Satanism is twisted because it's twisted around something nobody knows. Belief, a book.
I think it's a matter of maturity. I think when you talk about things you actually believe in and things you actually stand for, you're gonna express yourself with better art, more authentic art than if you cling to these less developed New Age religious tendencies.
The biggest Satanists I know, they're businessmen. They're not hanging around the black metal scene.
The purists of the scene claim that Satanism is the only lyrical content that makes it black metal. If it hasn't got a satanic lyric, it isn't black metal. So that's what the purists say.
I don't think that black metal have to be satanic. I know that a very big part of the old school, especially the old school black metal bands, are satanic.
Oh, I mean, fuck the bands, the quasi bands going around talking about Satan, thinking they know everything as they the Opus or whatever. Fuck them. They don't deserve shit. Yeah.
Then among these who say that they are Satanists, there are people who are claiming Satanism to be an atheistic way at view of life, and others claim that they believe in Satan as an existing being, and then you have a lot of people in between there.
Or also they say that our message is still important, but it's not about Satan. We don't believe in a personified creature that personifies the evil.
And then you have people who are into black metal, who are devil worshippers, who pray to the devil, and they are somehow in opposition to Satanists.
It's also about, of course, the more modern form of Satanism that is about to believe in yourself and to put yourself in the first place and everything like that. And you can see the whole spectra if you look at the black metal scene.
Belief for me is stupidity. It's ignorance.
Yet I follow a tradition called Jin Veda. It's anti-cosmic Satanism, chaos Gnosticism.
The Satanism I base myself around is based more upon what I have discovered, what I have seen and what I have felt through different rituals, or just working the way through yourself.
It's never been that significant, really. We've had Christians in the band, we've had Jews in the band, Orthodox Satanists. We've had more agnostics and atheists than anything, but it's really not that significant to us. We don't see anyone's spirituality being a game ender as far as their involvement in our art.
I use it to worship the God of creation, the God that have been man in Jesus Christ, the God that is transcendent and immanent in the same time, the Holy Trinity.
Of course, there are other, like the Christian black metal, who use Christian lyrics, and usually, just like the satanic black metal, take a lot of inspiration from the Book of Revelations in the Bible.
Black metal has always been all about the anti-Christian, to start with. It's always been about the non-religious against a flock of sheep.
The religion that we follow, the gospel, the kingdom of heaven is, you know, it's a seed that is planted inside of us, and we project God outwards. You know, we're not flocking around Jimmy Swaggart or John Hagee or any of those hypocrites.
Black metal can and never will be Christian.
My view about God is something that I express and want to proclaim in the black metal that I perform.
Christian guys playing black metal, sure, call it black metal if you want. I don't really care about that. But I think they know deep within it will never be black metal.
They are doing their thing, and they're doing something that I fully disagree with. But I agree to disagree, so to speak.